Echelon Connect versus ProForm. Which of these two indoor cycling bikes should you get? Here in the next few minutes, I'm going to be comparing the ProForm bike versus the Echelon Connect bike and kind of just looking at the drivetrain, hopping back and forth between the bikes, comparing handlebars, seating positions, and ride feel, and give you my thoughts and opinions on which bike I believe is the better value, and really just kind of give you a full tour and show you around. So maybe if you're trying to decide on buying a indoor cycling bike or deciding between these two bikes, maybe this video can help you out. If you do find value in this video, please be sure to give me a thumbs up because I'd really appreciate it. And also leave me a comment in the comment section below if you have any questions or comments about this video. And if you do think somebody else could benefit from this sort of information, please go ahead and share this video on social media, on a Facebook group, or wherever you would like. You can buy the Echelon Connect bike for about $500. And as you can see, I have tape there blocking off the exact model of this bike because it really just kind of depends on where you buy it from, what that is called, but no matter where you get it from, it is basically the same bike. I do have a link below this video in the description box if you're interested in the Echelon Connect. The ProForm CBC costs about $385 from Costco. Both of these bikes are very similar in the fact that they both have magnetic resistance and they're both belt driven. However, the Echelon Connect costs about $115 more, and the ProForm CBC from Costco has automatic adjusting resistance with the iFit app, whereas the Echelon bike does not have automatic adjusting resistance. The ProForm does come with a little screen here up on the front in which you can adjust your resistance digitally with these buttons right here, or you could also connect up an iPad or some sort of tablet and put it on this tablet holder and press the iFit button here to connect up the iFit app and join live classes as well as pre-recorded classes, and they have auto adjusting resistance on those classes. Additionally, you can get your cadence output along with other metrics such as calorie burned, distance, speed, time, and of course the resistance. If you haven't seen my other videos about the ProForm bike, this is simply a stop on this bike and you cannot adjust the resistance on the ProForm bike using this. Over here on the Echelon Connect bike, there is no screen that comes on the bike whatsoever. However, what you do is you bring your own device. In my case, this is my smartphone. And in order to get your metrics on the Echelon Connect, you simply pull up the app and it gives you your cadence and your resistance, your output, distance, speed, calories, total output, and all of the good stuff. One reason that many people choose the Echelon Connect bike is because you can simply add your own tablet up here and you can do the Peloton digital app classes. To do that, what you simply do is use your smartphone to connect to the Echelon app and put it in freestyle mode to get your metrics. And then on your tablet, you simply pull up the class you want to do on Peloton and play it on the tablet. In fact, this is exactly what we did prior to getting the Peloton Bike Plus. Basically what we did is use the Echelon Connect bike to kind of get our feet wet and see if we would actually use the Echelon Connect bike and do the Peloton classes before making such a substantial investment into the Peloton Bike Plus, which costs $2,495 plus a $39 per month recurring membership fee for the Peloton equipment. If you are specifically looking for an alternative Peloton bike to do the Peloton digital app classes with, the Echelon Connect bike is a very popular and very good option that I would recommend. Over here on the ProForm, you can add a tablet as well, and you slide it right up on there, and you can connect up using the iFit button right there to the iFit app. Right here, I simply loaded a manual mode course so I can show you that you can adjust the digital resistance here with the slider bar. And up here at the top, it gives you metrics such as speed, estimated calories, time elapsed, cadence, and resistance. If you're interested in doing the Peloton digital app classes, I would not recommend the ProForm bike because the ProForm hooks up with the iFit app and the iFit has the automatic adjusting resistance in the classes. However, if you try to run the Peloton digital app on the ProForm, you're not going to get that automatic adjusting resistance. One thing I'd like to point out about the Echelon Connect bike is you cannot adjust your resistance digitally with any of your attached devices. You simply have a traditional resistance knob down here, and your resistance scale goes from 1 to 32, and you have a traditional knob here that you just turn to the right to crank it up and left to crank it down. And as you turn that knob, it will adjust your resistance up here on the screen. The next thing we'll take a look at here on these two bikes is the handlebars. First off, you can see both the handlebars are actually in the max position. The ProForm handlebars do not go nearly as high as the Echelon Connect handlebars. So if you're a taller person or you want the handlebars to be higher up, the Echelon Connect is going to have a much higher maximum handlebar height. Additionally, comparing how much they can go up and down, you can see the actual amount that they can go up and down here on the ProForm is about this much. And if I bring this same measurement over here to the Echelon Connect, there is actually a lot more adjustability in the Echelon Connect. On the other end of the spectrum, I dropped both of the handlebars all the way down to the minimum position, and you can see that if you need the handlebars extra low, the ProForm handlebars actually go a lot lower than the Echelon Connect handlebars. And while we're talking about minimum height, I went ahead and dropped the seat down to the lowest position, and it's also the most far forward seat position on each of these bikes. The handlebars are in the lowest position as well. So overall, you can see the Echelon Connect bike has a higher handlebar in the minimum position. And on the Echelon bike, measuring from the closest hand grip position to the front of the seat here, it comes out to be about 17.5 inches. Comparing the same metric of reach over here on the ProForm bike, closest hand grip position to the front of the seat comes out to about 18.5 inches on this bike. And that is one thing I definitely noticed about riding the ProForm bike. The reach on the ProForm bike is definitely a little bit more than the Echelon Connect bike, and also just the reach in general on the ProForm is just more than most bikes. So it kind of puts you in a more aggressive riding position, which makes it better for putting down power, but it can also make it a little more strenuous and less comfortable on your upper back and neck. And while we're over here by the seats, we can take a look at the ProForm seat. It's not my favorite. A lot of people complain about it. It's not the most comfortable seat, but honestly, what can you expect for $385? And again, don't really take my personal opinion on the seat too heavily, because everybody is going to have their own personal preference when it comes to seat. Here is what the Echelon Connect seat looks like. It's fine. It's maybe a little bit better, I would say, than the ProForm seat. Still not my favorite seat, but it definitely gets the job done. And I do prefer the Echelon Connect seat a little bit more. As far as adjustments go, moving the seat up and down, the holes are spaced a little bit further apart on this bike compared to the Echelon Connect. If you look at the distance from 2 to 3 there, it looks like these holes are spaced about 1 inch apart. If you take a look at the tape measure here on the back of the Echelon Connect bike, you can see the holes are placed much closer together, so this gives you much more micro adjustment ability in terms of raising and lowering the seat to an exact position that you want to be in. The same case goes here for the handlebars on the front. The holes are placed pretty close together, so you get more micro adjustability on the handlebars. The same exact thing is true over here on the ProForm bike. The holes are spaced pretty far apart, and you actually can't even see them. As far as sliding the seats back and forth, both of them do not have any holes to click into, so there is quite a bit of micro adjustment ability on the seat. The exact same thing is true over here on the Echelon Connect. You just loosen this knob and you can move it back and forth quite a bit. Each of the bikes has a single water bottle holder. The ProForm is right here, and the ProForm is a pretty plasticky kind of feel to it in general all around here. Obviously the frame is a steel frame. You can see the welding. You can see some of the exposed welding right there, and some more exposed welding, and some more exposed welding. Here is the water bottle holder on the Echelon Connect. It's a single water bottle holder, and I should point out that there is kind of a small distance here between the bottom of the water bottle holder up to the resistance knob. So if you put too big of a water bottle in there, it will interfere with the resistance knob. On the ProForm, there is a much bigger space between the bottom here all the way up to the resistance knob, which is not a resistance knob, but you can fit a bigger water bottle holder in there if you want. These are what the pedals look like on the ProForm. They are okay. I kind of dislike them because they have these steel cleats kind of sticking out, and I just personally really dislike that. They're pretty cheap pedals, but they do have like the cage style on there. One of the first things I would do on both these bikes though is definitely replace these pedals with some clip-in style pedals, because it will transform your riding experience and it really just makes for a much better ride. These are what the pedals look like over here on the Echelon Connect bike. Pretty similar. They are a cage style. I would say that these pedals are a slightly higher quality. They don't have like any steel things sticking out, so I kind of like that more. But again, what we did is we replaced these pedals with some SPD style pedals that we can clip into, which does make for a better ride. As far as the actual look and style of the bike, I don't know which one I would choose. It's really kind of a personal preference. I mean, do you like that yellow color, the exposed flywheel? I do like the idea of an exposed flywheel. I do think that that does kind of add like a little bit of good looks to the bike. I don't really love the encased flywheel on the Echelon Connect bike, but I mean, it does have its own benefits in the sense that you're not going to get anything stuck in there. No children or dogs or anything are going to get their paws or fingers stuck in there. And it also does probably protect it a little bit better from like sweat getting down into the flywheel. I should also point out that there was a piece missing on my bike. There should be like a little hood kind of covering this exposed stuff up right here. It just wasn't in my box, so I don't have it. So now what I'm gonna do is just kind of hop on both bikes and feel out the drivetrain and just give you my opinions and what I think of the two bikes. So starting with the Echelon Connect bike, I have to admit that I like the pedals a lot more. They're just like a much bigger surface area on these pedals, although I still would swap them each out for some SPD clip-in pedals. And then kind of like the way I feel about this bike, this is on the maximum height of the seat. I think at my height, 6'5", it's just not quite, I wish the seat came up a little bit higher because at my height of 6'5", it's just not quite tall enough. However, I do like when I get out of the saddle on the Echelon bike that my knees have enough clearance to not hit the handlebars here. They're just like a little bit more extra space because the handlebars come up a little bit higher on the Echelon bike. So the resistance on the Echelon bike goes from 1 to 32. I have it on 26 right now. Before I started filming, I kind of went back and forth between the two bikes to kind of feel them out. And the maximum resistance of the Echelon bike is definitely more than the ProForm bike. Additionally, the Echelon Connect bike is a lot quieter than the ProForm bike. Not that I think that that really matters too much, but just like an observation, like the Echelon bike is much more silent. So right now I have the resistance on 1 and my cadence is about 100 according to my phone here with a power output of 45. I do wish that the Echelon bike had a little nicer hand grip here on the front. On this particular bike they're kind of bowed a little bit, but I heard that the most recent update of this bike did make a flat handlebar here on the front. So now I'm just going to crank up the resistance. I was on 1 and I'm just kind of cranking it along. I'm at 11 right now, which is like a little bit of resistance. And now I'm at 16, pretty moderate. Once you start getting into about 21 or 23 resistance, it starts to get pretty difficult on the Echelon bike. Now I'm just kind of cranking it up. I'm at like 29, 30, 31, and max resistance of 32, in which the knob stops rotating. And this is a pretty difficult max resistance. If I get out of the saddle on max resistance, I can still, get the pedals moving pretty well. Right now it says my output is about 320 with a cadence of 60. Output is now at about 400. So I mean, this is pretty difficult. It's a pretty good max resistance. The Peloton Bike Plus obviously has a much higher maximum resistance, as well as the Sunny bike. But honestly, like for my weight of 190 and my power capabilities, I think that the Echelon Connect bike has definitely like a good enough max resistance for most people. Okay, so now I'm over here on the ProForm bike, the Tour de France CBC. And really the first thing I can tell you about this bike is the pedals, they just have like a smaller platform on them. So it makes the pedals a little bit less comfortable. So I'm pedaling right now, I'm on resistance 1, and you can kind of hear like a little whine from the motor. So the ProForm does, even though it's magnetic resistance, it does make a little bit of noise. And honestly, that's pretty common. The Peloton Bike Plus also makes noise. It's just like kind of like a very silent little hum. However, I should just point out the Echelon Connect is a little bit more silent. So I'm kind of just cranking up the resistance a little bit here. I went from 1 to 8, and really the resistance change was pretty minimal. And now I bumped it up to 12, which is where you can really start to feel the resistance come on. So what I'm going to do now is just crank it up to max resistance and see what that feels like. So the max resistance on the ProForm is definitely not as much as the Echelon Connect. If I get out of the saddle here on max resistance, I mean, it's challenging. My cadence is at 70. Okay, so I just threw the iPad screen up there so I could really take a closer look at my metrics. Resistance is at 16. I'm gonna get out of the saddle. I'm pedaling at cadence of 62, 60, and it says my watts is 340. Now my cadence is at 70 and watts is 330. 75 cadence, watts is 440. And you know, still max resistance of 16. Cadence is at 80. Watts says 470. I'm not sure how much I believe these numbers. I mean, that's pretty high power output, and I mean, it's winning me, but I don't think that I'm really putting out that much power, honestly. So hopping straight back over here to the Echelon, I'm gonna crank the resistance all the way up to max again. And yeah, this max resistance is definitely higher than the ProForm. So I cranked the resistance down a little bit to about 28 out of 32. And I'd say resistance 28 on the Echelon is pretty similar to what max resistance on the ProForm would be. Just to verify, I hop back over here on max resistance and I'm kind of feeling it out. So I don't know, maybe actually 29 would be a little bit closer to max resistance compared to that bike. However, jumping from like 29 up to 32 does add quite a bit more resistance over here on the Echelon Connect. So yeah, there kind of is a big jump there at the end from like 27 to 32, makes a pretty big jump on the Echelon Connect. One observation I'd like to point out here on the ProForm bike is I feel like this bike does kind of fit a taller person a little bit better in terms of saddle height to the bottom of the pedal. So the seat's on max height, and I think that my leg just has the ability to extend right to where I would need it to be for my height of 6'5", whereas I don't quite get that full extension to where I need it to be on the Echelon Connect. The downside for a tall rider on this bike is I tend to get my knees pretty close to the handlebars here, so I have to remember to keep my butt back, which is where you should have it, and not lean too far forward, because if I start leaning too far forward, my knees will hit this handlebar. Taking a little bit closer to the flywheels up here in the front, I mean, obviously the Tour de France is an exposed flywheel. I do like the look of that. It's not my favorite that the Echelon Connect is all just housed up here in this plastic housing. However, you know, it does have its own added benefits that, you know, you're not gonna get sweat on it, you're not gonna get your fingers stuck in it. And the only way you can really touch this flywheel is there's a little hole down here. You can kind of get to it that way and just feel that, you know, there actually is a flywheel there. So which bike would I choose? The ProForm Tour de France CBC from Costco for $385, or the Echelon Connect from, well, I got mine from Amazon, which I have a link to below this video in the description box. So if you do want to buy this bike, it might be in stock by now. I'm not sure. There has been stock issues with the Echelon Connect, but that link below the video, if you do buy it through that link, it will help support this channel. So I would greatly appreciate it if you are going to buy the Echelon Connect, and it is available on Amazon. If you did buy it through that link, I'd greatly appreciate it. But anyway, I mean, this is like a $500 bike versus basically $385. So which is the better bike? Overall, you know, I think the drivetrain on the Echelon Connect bike is better. I like the feel of the Echelon Connect better in the seating position. The one downside is at my height of 6'5", I think the bike is a little bit too small for me in terms of you know, how far my leg can extend on this bike. But I do like that the handlebars come higher, and I like the feel of the drivetrain more, and it does have a higher max resistance. If you're buying an indoor cycling bike as a Peloton alternative and you want to do the Peloton digital app, I think the obvious choice is the Echelon Connect bike because, I mean, you're not really locked into any sort of platform with this. If you're buying a bike because you want that automatic adjusting resistance with the classes, whether they be live classes or pre-recorded classes on the iFit app, then the ProForm bike would be the way to go. It is pretty neat that the ProForm bike does have that automatic adjusting resistance, which is a big feature that was touted on the Peloton Bike Plus, you know, the automatic adjusting resistance on that $2,495 bike, which, you know, you can get that same feature here on the ProForm $385 bike from Costco. In terms of the quality of adjusting resistance, I really like the traditional knob right here on the Echelon bike that you can adjust the resistance back and forth. It feels really very smooth and very natural, and I just like the, you know, your ability to grab down there and just adjust it. Whereas on the ProForm, you have to either adjust it on the screen here or with these little buttons, which, you know, kind of feel a little bit cheap. And over time, I'm not sure how well these will hold up, you know. If you have any comments or experience with the long-term quality of a ProForm bike, go ahead and leave them down in the comment section below, because I'm not sure. I mean, the buttons do kind of feel a little bit cheap and like they might be susceptible to break over time. And if those buttons did break, you wouldn't have any way to adjust it because this is not a resistance knob. You would simply have to rely on the Bluetooth connection to adjust your resistance. Another thing you should take into consideration is if you do get the ProForm bike, you are going to be kind of locked into the iFit app in a sense, because I mean, this thing works with the iFit app. The automatic adjusting resistance works with the iFit app. And once you put your tablet up there, I mean, it's going to be kind of difficult to run anything else other than iFit on the ProForm bike. The Echelon Connect, you can pretty much run anything you want or nothing at all very easily. You just hook up your phone there through the Bluetooth connection, which we haven't had any problems with it so far. And you know, you can just throw on an additional tablet, or you could play some classes through your television, whether it be the Peloton digital app or the new Fitness Plus from Apple, or anything, just some random stuff on YouTube or whatever you want. So really, that's just my 2 cents on comparing the ProForm bike versus the Echelon Connect bike. I have a lot more videos on the Echelon Connect bike, so if you're interested in it, go head over to my channel and check out the other videos I have on it, as well as the ProForm bike. I do have this bike compared up to a lot of other bikes, so you can check those videos out. Anyway though, guys, thanks for watching this ProForm versus Echelon Connect video. Please click that like button, leave a comment in the comment section below if you have any questions or comments about this bike, and I'll do my best to get back to you. And if you do think somebody else could benefit from this sort of information, please go ahead and share this video on social media, on a Facebook group, or wherever you would like. So thanks for watching, click like, and I'll see you in my next video.